Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I am here to share with you all of the books I read in September, and surprise, surprise, I read 8 books because that is what I do every month. Sometimes I try to change it and push myself for more. It's 8, okay? It's gonna stay that way for probably a very long time. Average is basically about 2 a week, and I'm not mad about that at all. So, usually I start off with my least favorite book, working up to my favorite. This month was not the best month for reading, okay? I'm just gonna be straight up with you. I have no 5 stars. I have a lot of books that I really didn't enjoy, so this one's not gonna be like, yay, this is the best reading month ever. It happens, look, it happens. Was I expecting a lot more from this month? Absolutely, because a lot of the new releases I was very excited for, I have read somewhat of them, and some of them let me down. So I'm just gonna go in order by what I read them. So let's get into it. First up, I have Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is her sequel to her very, very popular YA book that came out years ago called Better Than the Movies, which I love and adore. It is pretty much an ode to rom-coms, and as a person that's favorite genre of movies is rom-coms, I was very excited about that. Every chapter header began with a different quote from a rom-com, such as When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail, 10 Things I Hate About You, etc., etc. So, in the first book, I will tell you a little bit about to get into what I thought about Nothing Like the Movies. Better Than the Movies, we follow Liz, and Liz is a avid fan of romance comedies, rom-coms, and she lost her mother a while ago, but she still always has a crush, but she still always has this grand notion of love in her mind. And then basically her crush that she's had forever moves back home, and she's like, I really need to like do this, like I need to like get with him and do things. And so she gets her neighbor, who's kind of like her frenemy, Wes, to help her with that. And he's like, I'll help you make you cool and get him to notice you. And of course, you can connect the dots from there. Liz and Wes end up falling in love. You get it. So the sequel takes place kind of, it's a different vein. Basically, at the end of the book, Liz and Wes are together. I don't think that's spoiling anything. I think you can put 2 and 2 together. But at the beginning of Nothing Like the Movies, they go to college and they both decide that they went to the same college, not because they were together, just because they both had decided that already. And you learn early on in the book that they break up pretty much immediately. And the book starts off with that, then it flash forwards to like 2 years later while Liz is a junior in college. Wes dropped out and is now returning back to start his freshman year while Liz is a junior. And I don't want to get into details because I does figure out, and basically the whole book is about Wes trying to win Liz back, and it kind of goes from there. Liz has lost her love of love, if you will. She's kind of really hesitant about it and kind of has a hard shell about her. And we also get Wes's perspective from the second book as well, and I didn't like it. It did not need to be written. Look, I think that there are some sequels with YA that does it good, and I think, you know, is a great series, and it should have been elaborated more on. This one, I think it was a great one and done. I was happy to close the chapter in the book on Liz and Wes and just imagine my own, because this book really was nothing like the first book. Like, Liz was very much jaded, if you will, which is understandable with things that happened to her. Wes was really trying to win her back. I didn't like it. I felt like they were not the same characters at all, and I get that they've grown up, but they didn't really have a lot of their same shine, if you will. So I ended up giving it 2 out of 5. I didn't like it. I really didn't, which bums me out so much. I was so looking forward to reading this one and loving it, but I didn't. And I just really didn't think it was necessary, honestly, which could be a whole other thing. Do contemporaries, contemporaries in general need sequels? A lot of the time the answer is no. A lot of the time it's for fan service, for the fans to get more of that couple because you want to endure it. And I get why Lynn Painter did it, because Better Than the Movies is so popular, so why not capitalize on it? I get it. Get your coin. I totally get it. But I just didn't think it needed to be written. That's just me. That's just me. Moving on to another YA contemporary sequel that I read, and that is Past, Present, Future by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I read both of those in a vlog if you want to check it out. This is the sequel to Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, which again is another one of my favorite YA books. I don't read a lot of YA, but when I heard that there were 2 sequels coming out of books that I've loved that I read previously, I was like, yes. And I was very interested, and after reading Nothing Like the Movies, to see if this one needed to be written. Wasn't going to be as horrible. You get what I'm saying? This one I actually liked a lot more than Nothing Like the Movies. Again, I could make the same argument that it didn't really need to be written. It really didn't, but I enjoyed it much more. If you don't know, today, tonight, tomorrow, it takes place all in one day. It's in Seattle because that's what kind of Rachel Lynn Solomon is known for. She's also really known for writing Jewish characters, which I love and adore. But basically, it's like a whole competition at the end of the year for these seniors. Rowan and Neil, who are arch enemies, and somehow they get paired up, and somehow at the end of the night, they confess feelings for each other. And this one follows the year after when they're both going to college. She's going to college in, I want to say Boston, and he's going to college in New York, and they both have to figure out how to have a long distance relationship. Neil is going through a lot of stuff, a lot of mental health stuff. Rowan's also going through it, and you really get to see them in their own, trying to become their own person while also being in love and wanting to be in a relationship. And I found this much more realistic than Nothing Like the Movies. Like, this could for sure really happen. I could see it, and I think it handled it much better, so I ended up giving it like a 3.5 out of 5. But again, the argument can be made, did it need to be a sequel? Did it need to be written? Not a ton. Like, I'm not gonna like shout from the rooftops about this book, but needless to say, obviously I love both of the first books in the series. The second one's not so much. And that's okay. On to the next book that I read, and that is Primetime Romance by Kate Robb. I originally found out about Kate Robb last year when she wrote This Spells Love. I found it on NetGalley, loved it. It's a severely underhyped romance book that I love and adore, so I was very excited to see what her sophomore novel was going to hold. Ended up giving this a 3 out of 5. It was okay, not amazing. I will say, if you are a card-carrying member of the old club and used to watch WB, aka Dawson's Creek, Buffy, Charmed, all that junk, I would read this. I would say 100% read this. If you're a millennial and you love the WB and you grew up with it, this is a love letter to that. And as a person who grew up with that, my favorite was Buffy, obviously, but I also watched Dawson's Creek. I also watched Everwood on occasion, and I also watched Smallville occasionally too. I love the WB. I loved it so much. Like, I just loved the commercials they had, everything. I love the commercial promos they had, everything. So basically, this is more specifically a love letter to Dawson's Creek. Now, Dawson's Creek is not one of my favorite like teen dramas. The only reason, I'll be straight up with you, why I love Dawson's Creek as much as I do is Mr. Pacey Witter.
You're lingering on your clutch. Okay, I know you think you're just easing into the gear, but it's not a good idea. You know, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon you're gonna do a lot of damage to your transmission. So what I was thinking is that if you wanted to, I could show you.
That man can do no wrong in my eyes. If he comes up to my door and he's like, marry me, I will say yes without a doubt. Let's go to Cape, where are they from? Cape Cod? Something like that. I don't even know. I'll go. I will go. Joey who? I don't know who she is. You know what I'm saying? The reason to watch Dawson's Creek is for Pacey Witter and Pacey Witter alone. He is the true star of that show. I don't care what anybody says. I also like Joey. Look, I'm a sucker for Joey. Pacey and Joey together, chef's kiss. I'm so glad they ended up the way they did. Oh, good. Either way. But basically, that's why I love Dawson's Creek as much as I did. Did I fast forward through like every Dawson's scene? Yes. If it was a Pacey scene, watched it, loved it, couldn't get enough of it. But anyway, this is a love letter to Dawson's Creek. This is about a character named Bryn who is just turning 30, and she's divorced and she's really bitter about it. And so she doesn't have the best job. So what she does, she comes home and she just binges her favorite teen drama, Carson's Cove. Get it? Carson's Cove, Dawson's Creek, 2 bodies of water, 2 different names. You get it. Then one day her roommate saunters in. It's like her younger brother's friend. And somehow they basically end up waking up literally in Carson's Cove, and they are characters in Carson's Cove. Basically have to fulfill this ending that Carson's Cove never got, and it's up to them to do it. So they're stuck in this small town, and Bryn is learning, is this really all what Carson's Cove was I thought it was going to be? Like, you know, it's like ending up like in Stars Hollow. I can't believe I didn't mention Gilmore Girls when I talk about WD. What an idiot. That was another one of my main ones, duh. But basically, it's all about that. Was it amazing? No, I could have been better, but it hit on the nostalgia factor for me for just falling in love with a show so much when you're younger and having that angsty teen drama that I coveted and loved so very much. And the melodramatic and the big words they use in Dawson's Creek. Like, I was like, what teenager talks like this? Because I don't know anybody that does. But either way, it's a love letter to Dawson's Creek. Is it amazing? No, I definitely love This Spells Love a lot more. But again, if you're a fan of the WB, I'd check it out. We have Unbearably Yours by Elodie Colliard. I saw this on NetGalley, and I can give you one reason why I requested it on NetGalley. It's a fall cover. If we don't know, I love fall. Either way, I was very pleasantly surprised about this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Two characters named Charlie and Oliver, and basically they get entered into a pen pal program when they are in college and freshmen. And so the whole year, they literally handwrite notes to each other. They don't know any other information about them. They don't see each other. They just know their names. They keep it very discreet. But of course they fall in love until one day they were supposed to meet up in real life and Oliver doesn't show up. Now it's many, many, many years later. They both have full-time jobs and everything's going okay. When Charlie gets an opportunity to, she's like a what is she exactly? She's a journalist, duh. And she has to be on this project where she has to go to this very small town with the rainforest in British Columbia. And then who does she run into that she never thought she would run into but Oliver, who is kind of the tour guide of the group. And they are now meeting for the first time in person. And she is very bitter. She's like, look, you left me years ago and I never got any closure and I'm still mad about it. And he's like, well, I'm still kind of in love with you. So it's all about that. And they're going on this documentary journey, if you will, with learning about the rainforest. It's, I don't know, is it a rainforest? It's just a forest where they look after these moon bears, apparently. Very fallish. At one point, he teaches her how to roast marshmallows and make s'mores because he doesn't know. And I'm like, what person doesn't know how to make s'mores? But I don't know. Say I'm not. But either way, it's very fallish, very cute. I love the romance in it. You get to see how the whole relationship came to be. And it's definitely an underrated fall one, I would say. So I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5, and I enjoyed it. My next 3 books are the vampire books I read recently. I just did a vlog where I read all of them. This is where I really fell flat in the month because I was really looking forward to loving every single one of these, and I ended up not really loving any of them. And it broke my heart a little bit. I died inside a little bit. But either way, my favorite of the bunch was My Vampire Plus One by Jenna Levine. This is the sequel, companion novel to the book that came out last year, My Roommate is a Vampire, which I loved and adored. These covers, A+. I love this one. So this one follows the main character who's a vampire in this book, Frederick's friend Reginald, or Reggie, and he's kind of the bad boy vampire. He basically meets Amelia, who is a CPA, and he asks her for a favor because he's trying to hire for this vampire group. Then she asks for a favor, be like, hey, can you be my +1 to a wedding in a month? It's like a fake relationship. She learns he's a vampire. You think that's a big conflict, but it's not. But either way, it's just a fun, fantastic time is what I say. It's a little bit spicy, a little bit fun. Do they get into the vampire lore? No. Are the conflicts done within a second? Yes, but it's a fun time. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5. My favorite for sure is My Roommate, just because he's such a cinnamon bun and he's kind of like a little playboy, so pick your main character. But it's a fun series that I do recommend. Then I read So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I love Rachel Harrison. She is a horror author that her horror takes a back seat. I don't even know why she's labeled as a horror author, but I've really loved a lot of her books. This one, easily my least favorite. I don't know if I'm alone in saying that. I probably am. But either way, this is about a character named Sloane, and Sloane is turning 36, and I just literally turned 36. Hello. Hello, I'm old. But she's not in a good marriage. She knows her husband cheats on her constantly. But then he surprises her with a 3-day getaway to this really small, sleepy town where her best friend is going to join her for a 3-night getaway. And so she's like, great, is he just trying to hide on me? Like, so he can cheat while I'm gone? Da, da, da. So she goes, she meets her best friend Naomi, and basically they get in some trouble because they meet some people at a bar, and the next day they are vampires, and they kind of have to go on the journey from that. And oh my gosh, I have never despised a character more than Naomi for a long time. I loved her so much. This whole book, Rachel Harrison's books, I shall say, have a horror element in them, but they all kind of have a big factoring plot to them. So in Black Sheep, which was her book last year, it was about a girl trying to get out of like a very cultish family. She was like the black sheep, if you will. Meanwhile, you had a crap ton of paranormal stuff going on. And Cackle, her witch book, it's about 2 women that meet and one of them's a witch, but it's mainly about friendship. In Such Sharp Teeth, it's about twin sisters and one of them becomes a werewolf, but it's mainly about their sisterly bonds. You get kind of a relationship in these books as the front and center, and the horror is just kind of there in the background that adds a lot to the story, but is not the main thing, I would say. So the main thing in this book is this friendship between Naomi and Sloane, and I think it was a very codependent, not very healthy friendship. And that's just my opinion. Sloane was very reserved. She had a lot go on in her personal life. She had a lot go on in her college days, so she's kind of a reformed bad girl, and so she's very hesitant to do things, which I understand. Now, Naomi is the complete opposite of the coin. She does whatever the hell she wants, doesn't think about anybody, doesn't think about consequences. Even when the consequences happens, does she take accountability for them? Absolutely not. Who would do that? That is why I loathed her. She put them in situation after situation, and she'd be like, well, it's just is what it is. I'm sorry, and it happened. And I'm like, no, like, what kind of friend are you? And I felt like the friendship was very one-sided. Sloane was like willing to die and do anything for Naomi, and Novi, I don't feel like had that same kind of love for her. Maybe it's just me, but I think that's why I hated this book so much. Also didn't love the vampire group they found. It was very too spicy for me. I didn't enjoy it. So I gave this 2 out of 5. Look, the reviews on this I will say are mostly good. So take my reviews as always with a grain of salt. That's all I have to say. And the other vampire book I finished was Fang Fiction by Kate Stayman London. I was very excited for this one because this was her second novel, I think. Her first one to watch was very Bachelorette-esque, like it was like a reality show, and I really enjoyed it, despite not liking reality dating shows at all. But I was very interested to see how she was going to do a vampire novel, and I really did not like this one. This one surprised me with how much I didn't like it. And I will say the reviews are not the best in this. I'm trying to figure out what the main character's name is, because did I forget? Yes, I have already. Character named Tess. At the beginning of the book, she is just starting graduate school in New York, and she's doing really great. She has a favorite book series that she loves called Blood Feud, which is a vampire book series, and she just loves and adores it. And then an event happens. I do think I should tell you because I do think it is triggering to some people, so I want you to be fully aware of it. She gets sexually assaulted, and you flash forward into the future from a couple years, and she has dropped out of college. She has a new job. She cannot sleep. She is very much still having a lot of trauma from this event, which is more than understandable. So she kind of made herself a recluse from her family, her friends, etc. And then one day while she's working at the hotel she's in, she sees a character from Blood Feud, and you know, she's like, holy crap, like this is not a person dressed up. This is actually Ophelia from Blood Feud, because there's always been these mixed notions in this world that these characters actually exist in real life from Blood Feud, that they're not fictional, they're actually real, and they've been here since like the 1800s, you know? And so Tess runs into Ophelia, and she's like, hey, I'm Ophelia, and I was basically, Blood Feud takes place on this isle where all these vampires are held and they can't escape. So Ophelia meets Tess. She's like, hey, I got out of the isle, don't know how, but I need you to let my twin brother Callum know that I'm here, because, you know, he's my twin brother. And so the whole book is about her, Tess, going to the isle and learning that this fictional characters are actually real. And it sounds interesting, but it was just so much in one book. Like, it just was too much for me. It had mixed media where you would get podcasts where they would talk about Blood Feud. You would get Reddit forums where it would be like, I think I saw Callum and Ophelia in the 60s. And you would also get the point of view of Ophelia and also Tess's best friend that she's been talking to, one named Joni, as they're trying to figure out things in New York while Tess is in the Isle, and you get a whole bunch of vampires. And it was just confusing, honestly. I just wasn't into it. I really wasn't. I wasn't into the romance. I wasn't into the subplots. It was just, I think, just too much kind of was bogging it down. Like, it was trying to be so many things. So I didn't really like it. I would give it like a 2.5 out of 5. So this book I read, I should say I'm actually still reading right now. I'm about halfway through, and I am filming this a couple days before October officially starts, so I feel confident in putting this in here. So anyway, it is Phantasma. I always have a hard time saying this, by Kaylee Smith. This is a paranormal dark romance. She really wants to be part of this video. This is a paranormal, like, dark romance, and I am really enjoying it so far. As of right now, I think it could be like a 4 out of 5, but I will let future me talk about it in a voiceover when I'm editing this and I have finished it. But I will tell you, it's about a character named Ophelia. What time period this is also another question I have. Is it supposed to be like early 1900s, 50s, 60s? There's cars in this. I don't know. It takes place in New Orleans, and it's about Ophelia, who was a necromancer, and she comes from a family of necromancers. In the beginning of the book, her mother dies, and so she has to kind of... okay, she has to kind of put her mother's powers into herself. And so from that, they learned that when their mother passed away, that they can't have their house anymore. They live in the Grim Manor and they owe money on it. The bank's like, look, we're going to give you like 2 months to give us the money. Otherwise, we're just taking it and we're going to knock it down. And so Ophelia's like, well, crap. She has a younger sister named Genevieve who learns about this contest called Phantasma, which is held at this place called Hell's Manor, I believe. And it's like it's a very deadly competition where it takes like seven levels, 7 circles of hell, you get it, and each level gets scarier and darker, and it is very gory and kind of spooky. Ophelia also runs into a ghost that she maybe starts having feelings for, so it's got that spooky, dark vibe that it's perfect to read near Halloween, but right now I'm liking it, but I will let future me tell you what I feel about it. I ended up actually really enjoying this. So it's definitely a dark paranormal romance, and it's mainly, it does lean a lot into the romance. Like, it's quite spicy, much more than I ever thought it would be spicy, so just be forewarned going into that. But it's not as dark and scary as I thought it was going to be. Yes, it is creepy because it's set in this place called Hell's Manor, and there's demons and ghosts and all these scheduled haunts and things like that. But I think it's a great Halloween read, so I would recommend it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Those are my thoughts and feelings on it. Hopefully I was still correct on my feelings. But either way, those are the 8 books that I read for the month of September. I have a lot of hopes for October that it will go well. We will have to see, as I always say. Okay. As always, thank you for watching. If you have read any of these, please let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. And yeah, again, thanks for watching. Say bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Can you say thanks for watching?
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Good job.